Welcome to this brand new presentation. I am so pleased to share it with you today. I am going to be talking a little bit about my brand new program, Your Personal Brand Plan. But I'm not just going to be talking about that. I want this to be a two-way situation. So even though I'm talking to you, I hope that you'll grab a piece of paper and a pen because I'm going to be asking you some big questions with the hope that you get some big answers. Judging on what lots of clients are talking about at the moment, there is a need for some clarity. Also, spring is coming, which I am so grateful for with this pale and ginger face. Hence why I'm looking so shiny because I'm trying to get some moisture back into my face. Anyway, you are so welcome. Grab a drink of your choice, a pen and a paper, and let's get started. Also, if this is not for you, by the way, if my work is not aligned with where you're up to, but you think of somebody who may benefit, just feel free to send the video on. It's there, they can watch it in their own time, and they don't have to dial in to a long number at midnight, set their alarm. They can watch it at their leisure. That's why I've put it on YouTube. So you can press pause, press play, come back to it, and not just have to watch this presentation and watch it from the beginning every time. You can tell I've been in this industry a long time, and there's always been many parts of the logistics that are frustrating. Anyway, I digress. I was really thinking about where I start when I share this. And the opening line sounds like I'm on blind date in the 90s, but here we are. I'm Nikki, I'm 43, and I live in North London. I wanted to start here because I am at a beginning of a new chapter. It's taken a long time to get to this place and space. And in today's presentation, I'm going to take you behind the scenes of that process because I could come out here and go, oh my goodness, I've got clarity. I know where I'm going. I'm really excited about this. But when people are doing that, and if I'm still stuck going round and round the helter-skelter spiraling of life's big questions, I always want to know the how. How did you do that? How did you find a way? What were the questions that you asked? So if we are meeting for the first time, and if we know each other already, be like, yeah, I know this. You can pause this and just read a little bit about me. I've been doing this a really long time, finding a blend of life and business that really feels good for me. This is quite a rebellious act because I went to a very regular comprehensive school where it was all about fitting in, from having the right kappa jacket to snogging the same boy, to wearing the same thing, to drinking the same thing. It was all about moving in one direction. And very early on in life, I realized that I did not want to, nor could I, tick the boxes that were being presented to me. And so I had to find my own. And that has been quite the adventure with many twists and turns along the way. And at 43, I feel like I'm beginning again, strangely, after 25 years. But one thing that I want to share, and I can link to the other videos about this, is even though I do lots of different things, storytelling and connection run through everything that I do. So you might look at my portfolio career and go, how did those pieces all fit together? But the common denominator, the Venn diagram, my mum's favorite expression, is the same. It's storytelling, it's connection, it's finding the truth, it's finding that engagement, that alignment. So whether I'm acting and I'm finding the truth in the character, whether I'm coaching and I'm helping you to find the truth of what it is that you want to be, do, and have and feel next, whether it's me preparing a talk like this or a workshop, I have to connect with the materials that I am speaking about or writing about. And likewise with collaborations, I always want to be on purpose there. So I love a little little graphic to highlight this. So, as you can see, my career has taken me to many places and spaces. And also, a big part of this is being a mum as well, having two small children. Well, they're 9 and 5 now. I don't have any pictures of them because already they're in that stage of like, oh, mum, don't take my picture, which is absolutely fine. So, I'm respecting their wishes. Of course, I would love to show you pictures of them because I love and adore them, but it's their choice. So you've just got pictures of me in various outfits. This one, oh, I can't point at the same time, but the one in the maid's outfit was a particularly interesting situation. So, why am I sharing this? Well, I've mentioned a little bit that I'm going to talk about your personal brand plan later, but there are more reasons. And the first is recently I read a book. So, my 9-year-old and I have a challenge for 2025, and that challenge is to read 50 books each. And I've worked out that the key with my 9-year-old and making progress, and everybody is different. I think my daughter's might be sweet, but anyway, his version is to gamify things. And he's recently got into books and in quite a big way. So I've set him this challenge. And because I am that person of like, oh, I can't just set a challenge and not do anything alongside him, I am also doing this challenge. So he's ahead of me at the moment, but we are writing down the books that we read. I read this book called New Methods for Women by Sharmadean Reed. And in it, she talks about all kinds of things, but generally it's about women in the workplace and how you grow as a woman through the decades, through the twists and turns of life. And one of the things that she created, because she has a portfolio career also and is very ambitious and wants to do lots of things, she has created this document called How People Can Get to Know Her in a Work With Me. So it's a glorified mixture of a CV, an introduction, a behind the scenes tour, and back in the day where we had our record of achievement, I don't know if you had one of those, but basically the Burgundy wine list, well, that's what it looked like, where you felt like you had to carry that around. We don't have to do that now. We have Zoom, we have technology, we have in-person meetings, we have social media, we have all of these things. But it really inspired me, this document. So I wanted to create my own version of it and share a little bit in more detail about what I do, a little flavor of the way that I work and how I can help you. The second thing I want to say is I've been doing this for 25 years. So I moved to London in 2000 at 18, and I was off to the races as soon as that happened. I went to drama school, so it wasn't like a turn up every other Tuesday for the afternoon, pop in if you feel like it. It was an intense situation. So 10-hour days, working all weekend, trying to make it work. And they really encouraged you to see yourself as that professional. And so I grew up really quickly. I entered the workplace like, okay, right, let's go. And coming to this point 25 years later, I've really been reflecting on what I think about things, what I've achieved, what I haven't, what my strengths are, what feels good, what now feels outdated. And so I guess that's my first question for you. Where are you up to? Are you where are you feeling that those niggles, those nudges, maybe that feeling that it's time to change or expand or to close something, to open something up? How does that land for you today? Number three, it's been 5 years since COVID. And I think that from speaking to clients and generally listening to conversations on the internet and in real life, I think lots of people have been in this survival mode for the last 5 years. They haven't wanted to take any risks. They've been treading very carefully. They're sort of just rebuilding, working through maybe the trauma. Everybody had a very different experience during that time. And I really wanted to mark this 5 year anniversary and really talk about where we go next because business has changed. Maybe you've changed. I know that I've changed. 5 years ago, I had a baby that was sort of shuffling along. She could sit up by herself. I don't even know if she could crawl yet. But now I have a 5 year old who is writing things and has plans for stuff and sort of wants to be a party planner on Pinterest. It's all just like a whole new world. And so I really wanted to hold that space for you today of where do you go next? Number 4, I've always worked on this basis. If I share, then maybe you will as well. I know myself as a busy mum, running a house, doing all of the things, and you can feel like I'm a bit under the weather at the moment. Hay fever, again, this pale and ginger person goes out once with the sun shining and then comes back with hay fever. But I think at this time of year, it's time, as David Attenborough would say, to come out of hibernation. And so I wanted to open up this conversation and really think about the vulnerability of that and where you want to go next and talking about your dreams and your goals and your aspirations. It's one of my biggest love languages, and I'm not very good at small talk. I always want to go there. That's why people will go, do you know what? I've always wanted to start a business. That's why I'm really good secret keeper. That's what I do, because I love that communion of minds and ideas, and sometimes that sense of I'd really like to do this but I don't know how. That conversation, that fire pit, is one of my favorite places to be. Number 5, marketing yourself is really essential. So essentially, that's what I am doing in this, of course, because I'm going to make you an offer at the end of it and tell you a little bit more. But it's more than that. There will be some people that are not looking for what I have to offer right now. But that doesn't mean that the marketing stops. And over the last 25 years, I've really learned that you have to go first. You have to put yourself out there. You have to really stand up for what it is that you want to offer and set up your stall. Don't just wait for people who are vaguely interested to come over. You have to go first. And number 6, marketing has to be unique and feel good. Now, as I did my coach training nearly 15 years ago, I have watched so many people market in so many different ways. And with the introduction of automation and AI, and all sorts of technological things that I don't really understand, unfortunately, maybe I will one day, I have come back to this sense of making it bespoke, making it personal. And so that's why I'm opening up this space to start a conversation. And this, again, going back to my storytelling and connection, this is always where I begin with a client. I don't follow a script and, share it in that way. I'm not trying to get bums on seats. I'm not putting post-it notes up behind because I've got all of these leads in. I really don't work from that point of view. I work much more from a personal place. Now, that might be a mistake because maybe I'm not going to scale as quickly. But for me, this is the way that I like to do that. And I've taken many experiments over the years, and I keep coming back to this. 7, I'm going to ask you some big questions today. And in return, I hope that you get some big answers. Most people won't want to ask the big questions because maybe they're scared or hesitant of the big answers that will come. It's okay. And I want you to trust yourself in this moment to tread carefully if that's what you need. However, the payoff of honesty, of integrity, of tuning in to those big questions, it's going to pay off big time, because sometimes the answers that come and the ones that land may shock you, may surprise you, may knock your socks off. And I love that feeling because we cannot continue getting different answers if we can continue asking the same questions. Einstein said it way better than I've just butchered that comment. But you can feel free to Google that excellent quote that Einstein said. And finally, number 8, sharing my process may unlock yourself. And this is key because if we are in a state of, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm winging it, I'm hoping for the best, I'm waiting, I'm just maybe the right answer is round the corner. I believe that we just keep going round and round and round. Almost like when my dad takes me back to Doncaster Station after staying, if I go and do a trip up on my own, like I did the other week, there's this particular roundabout and you've really got to make a decision. You've got to know where you're going. It's one of these like 8 exit situations, and there's always roadworks and there's always traffic lights. And there comes a point where sometimes you will go round again because it's like, is it this one? Am I going north or south, or where am I going? The signposts are hopeless. But there comes a point where you have to make a decision. Otherwise, you'll keep going round and round and round. And so grab that piece of paper and a pen, and let's get into the big questions. So my 2025 process began in a different way. I've always loved goal setting. I mean, I practice what I preach because I'm a coach. And to a certain extent, I've enjoyed vision boards, writing letters to my future self. But something was missing for me. And over the years, I've been to so many goal setting workshops, so many vision board workshops, and I've hosted them. And I have realized where I got stuck, where I felt that things were sticky, or they weren't specific, or they weren't bespoke. And what I was finding was I firstly felt like I had to get this process like done in an afternoon. And actually, if you had to design your whole house in an afternoon, that might be quite tricky. Like work out from scratch, like, well, where would the tiles go? And I might want to knock that wall down, but I'm not really sure. And I need to check this. I wanted it to be a work in progress. And secondly, when I've been to a vision board workshop and all of the things are out, so the magazines and the cutting and the pasting and the felt tips and the big pieces of paper, maybe they are not in alignment with me. So I might be looking at these magazines and just cutting things out for the sake of it. And it's only until I've reflected on this and thought, actually, creating a vision for yourself is about creating a vision that feels good, that feels connected to you. And so what I did this year was to go on Canva, one of my favorite places. And I pulled across a grid system and I decided to break down my vision board into various areas. And I can share some of these titles today for you. The first, gratitude. I started there. I started strong. I pulled together photos of things that I have already right now in my life that I am so grateful for. And I really started in that strong place because I think sometimes with creating a vision, you can feel like you're always reaching out. You're always trying to grasp something that is out of reach. And so instead of doing that, I grounded myself, I centered myself and thought, how brilliant that all of these things have happened already. And then I took a whole new page for these different areas. Myself, where did I see my 2025 self going? My friends and family, health and well-being, adventure and travel, impact, and you can read the rest. But I got really specific on the pictures that spoke to me, the visions that I had. And sometimes creating a vision board it's like having a lovely little secret with yourself. You're pulling in an image that only you know what the meaning of it is, and it feels really great. Finally, I should just say some of those PDFs needed several PDFs. So my future home that I am thinking about at some stage, it will hopefully come into fruition. I went big time. I went the home office. I thought about the basement cinema room. I thought about the workout shed type lodge situation at the bottom of the garden. I did a kitchen renovation. And so now when I just screenshot something from my phone or save something on Instagram, I just add it in there. Oh, I love a system. It feels so good. So why did this work for me? And why may it work for you? Number one, put your goals where you can see them, out of sight, out of mind. How often have you written a list and then you folded it up and you put it in a drawer and it's sort of like materialized maybe 6 months later or 6 years later, where you're like, oh, yeah, I was thinking about those goals in 2013. If I have something that I see every single day, I am building a relationship with it. I'm saying, hi, what's happening? What's going on? What we're doing? Where am I? And it feels like an emotional connection that I'm building. And that's what we need with our goals. We don't want to just feel like, oh, I wrote them on this piece of paper and then just shove them somewhere. That energy doesn't feel great. So put your goals where you can see them. Number two, I've touched on this slightly, but choose the exact version. I always say this to clients, choose the most ideal version, even if you don't know how this is going to happen. The reason being, for years, most of us have been taught to be so accommodating. I don't mind energy. I don't mind. What do you think? The people pleasers, the sweet, the nice, the, oh, don't worry about me, or what, I'll go last. Don't worry, I'll pick up the crumbs. So for me to challenge you and say, what do you want, babe? Like, what is your big, audacious version? Sometimes it can be quite triggering. Sometimes it will require a different place and space of your imagination. I'm saying the most ideal version because it's surprising how quickly, when you go for the ideal, things begin to move into place. And we all know also when we go for the average, the I don't mind, whatever you think, you often get to it and you're like, yeah, this isn't really what I wanted. Or I wish I wish I'd waited, or I wish I'd saved up for the thing that I actually wanted. Let's get into that ideal version energy. Number three, I really broke down the areas. And I think that often when it comes to goal setting, it's focused on achievement. The big flashy, put something up on Instagram. I'm so delighted to announce you change your LinkedIn status or whatever it is, and it becomes about the big things. But things like, let me just go back to here, the daily abundant feel good vibes, that is about, like, I really want to get this sounds really geeky, but it's my vision board. I really want to get a matching Le Creuset butter dish to go with the salt and pepper shaker that are from Le Creuset. Now, this may be a first world problem, but my Le Creuset dish, butter dish, is a different color. And I would love to have that cohesion. That would make me feel really great. So these sorts of things that you know that when you make your cup of tea, you're like, oh, this is so, so pleasing. And if I put that, I mean, I'm only sharing it with you, but if I put that on Instagram, like, guys, it's happened, the butter dish is here, it may not be that interesting to anybody, but it's your vision board. It's your personal connecting action here. Number four, I can edit as I go. And I think that sometimes with our goals, we find that as the year goes on, maybe it's not relevant anymore. Or maybe we thought we wanted that thing, and then in the end, it wasn't to be. And I want you to have full permission to really be in control of that. I also want this to be a working guide. So something that you can edit as you go, but also you might want to do this, which is something I've never done before. As I go, I've been creating like a done version of this. So when I'm talking about friends and family, I've started to add photos in from the things that I've actually done. So seeing my little niece, Delilah, the other week, I've added those photos in. Going away for a weekend with my friends of 25 years, I've added that picture in because we all need that sign, that recognition that things are moving, things are going in the right direction. So I want this to be a working document, something that you edit as you go, but something that you're like, this is happening. I am doing it. And number five, my kids have done one as well. Now, my daughter's is full of unicorns, and that is generally the theme for that. My son's is a bit more varied, but it's so interesting when you ask them what they want, of how different it might be to what you think that they might want. And it was really an opportunity for them to share their different interests, the things that are important to them, the stuff that is exciting them at the moment, the stuff that they're thinking about. And one of the things with my son, for example, was he really wanted to go to the big Waterstones in Piccadilly Circus. And as I mentioned, he'd really got into books recently. And I said, yeah, we can absolutely do that. And I think this was on the Thursday. And I said, let's go on Saturday. And that felt so good to feel like we could tick one of those goals off the list. I want to share a bit more in-depth detail here. And I want to also throw these questions back to you. So my children did not sleep for 7 years. I know. I did not have babies who were like, just lay them in the cot and off we go. No, 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 no. So I do a lot of thinking in the night, and I have a lot of aha moments and moments of like, oh, that's what it is. And so I wanted to share a little bit of my process here and throw the question back to you. Thank you for that confirmation of the little beep beep from the busy traffic. Our road totally should be a one-way street, by the way, but it's not. And therefore, we see a lot of arguments every single day. Anyway, what I am creating requires courageous, intentional, heartfelt, messy moves. And I'm going to be referring to my other notes as well, because I don't want to miss anything. I want to start here because the formula that you might think that you need in order to get to where you go is probably not going to be a traditional thing. So, for example, if I decided growing up that I wanted to become an accountant on my local high street, where I would have that very personal, local, small town accountancy firm, I would have had some kind of blueprint in order to follow. You do this, this is how you build your reputation, this is maybe how you collaborate with people, these are the key roads if you're going to have an in-person office where you might want to happen, these are your competition. And I realized very early on that what I wanted to build was not going to be a formula. And at first, that was really frustrating because sometimes we just want that step-by-step thing. And as soon as I realized that was not what it was going to be, that I'd have to look and be curious and go to different spaces, enter different rooms, have alternative conversations, find like an inside track to doing it. Do things that I would think that they wouldn't come to anything, but simply say yes and be in the room and trust that instinct, even sometimes when it makes no sense to anybody else. Bingo. That's when I began to make progress. So with you, where are you going next? And where do you need to become a little bit more imaginative, innovative? Maybe where do you need to look? And one of the things that I've noticed, especially in my coaching work, is whenever I'm stuck, I need to turn down the noise because there are people telling me like, this is the only way to do it. And I also know about myself, unless it feels good, I'm not going to do it. Unless I feel connected to it, I'm not going to do it. So when I'm feeling like that, actually the thing for me to do is to turn those notifications off and tune in and take myself away from my desk, take myself to Hampstead Heath and really get into my own psyche, my own instinct, my own internal rhythms. And I now know that about myself. So what do you need when I say that? Number two, bringing my whole self with boundaries, of course, to the table, uniquely you. You might have seen this in your industry or the places and the spaces that you work, is everybody starts to become a little bit diluted, a little bit vanilla. Everybody starts to dress the same. You go to the Christmas party and three of the other girls are wearing the same Zara dress. And we see this pattern a lot where everything starts to become a bit samey, a bit predictable. And sometimes I can see that on an advert on my algorithm. I know how that girl's going to sound. I could write that script for how that woman is going to communicate because it's the same script that I've heard again and again. I want you to tune in and really think about those other parts of you that you need to bring to the table. Your uniqueness, your flavor, your storytelling, your background, your turn of phrase, your magic. I'm going to say it, your magic. And obviously do that with boundaries. Have that kind of professional division and that will look and feel very different to everybody else. But whenever you're tempted to blend in, I want you to zoom out and go, what else does this need? Number three, your circumstances and what is important to you. I've always talked about a life first business model. And I knew from 25 years ago that the way that I needed and wanted to make money, I needed to think about how my big dreams were going to be accommodated in that. So when I came to London and I went to drama school and I trained to be an actor, which is still a slice of my income pie, I knew that I was going to have flexibility, but I was also going to live in London, so I needed predictable income. I also knew that I needed to have that last minute quality. So if an audition came in, I knew that I needed to have all of those things. And over the last 25 years, my circumstances have changed a lot. And there have been very different chapters. And now I have to, and I want to, consider the circumstances of having a family. I don't want to be a mum that doesn't see her children. I want to be around. And again, there's a whole spectrum of that, of what that looks like. Does that mean I have to spend every hour of every day with my children? No, it doesn't. But I love that family unit. It's one of like my favorite parts of my life. And so I really want you to think about what are the circumstances that you need to honor in your own work, and how can you work with them rather than against them? So the fact that, I've the circumstances of having a family, I actually think I'm much better at what it is that I do. I'm more efficient, I'm more focused, I have better timekeeping, my communication is more direct. I also bring that nurturing and that kindness to the table. I really think that I've become better in so many different ways. Definitely not in the tiredness factor. But again, I can operate on much less sleep, but still have that confidence that things are moving forward. Number four, your personality. And I wanted to bring this phrase up of what you could do versus what you actually want to do. Now, many of us, again, going back to this conversation that we've had previously about people pleasing or being accommodating, being all the things to all the people whenever they want, I have really looked at how that has impacted my work and my career. And sometimes that has meant that I have got myself in situations to the point where I felt like I couldn't say no, or I should do that, or I felt like I hadn't earned my seat at the table. And so I never felt like I could ask for what I needed. And I would over deliver and undercharge. And there were all sorts of things here. You could do loads of things. You are talented, smart, innovative, tenacious. You bring so many different ideas to the table, and you could go in all sorts of different directions. But now is the time to ask yourself, what do you actually want to do? What really lights you up? Where do you get that like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is the point where it feels like it drops in, where it feels really good. Now, this doesn't have to be a career. This doesn't mean you have to like forget everything you've ever known, but I want you to start to bring those things in. And maybe this is a hobby. Maybe this is you reading a book about it. Maybe this is you taking a class or dipping your toe or having a conversation about it. I want you to acknowledge those sparky bits of yourself and notice if they've gone out. Are you in this sort of quite lukewarm existence? And I want you to bring some stuff back in. Number 5, live, love, laugh. Yep, that's right. I know we joke about this phrase, and I always love those Instagram videos where people go around their parents' houses and they're like, oh my gosh, the signs are everywhere. I don't know if you've seen that one, but they're like, live, love, laugh, laugh, love, live. And yeah, people take that motto so far. But I'm not going to have that up in my house, nor am I going to create a mural in my garden. But I am going to sit with that of what does that mean to me? How do I know that I'm doing it? Because so often we make these business goals, but we're not thinking about how we want to spend our life. I really want to live a great life, not just in the big things like holidays or whatever, but I want to have spontaneous moments as well. My daughter said when we went to the Heath the other day, should we call in at a pub on the way home? And me and my partner were like, yeah, yeah, let's do that. And it took our 5-year-old to say that. And usually because we've been parents for 10 years, it's like, well, we better get back, or it's nearly 5 o'clock, and what about dinner and all of these things. And actually it's like, no, we can just have a juice or a pint and have some crisps and it will all be fine. I want you to get back in touch with that side of yourself. Like, what do you want? What do you feel? What's exciting you at the moment? And really get into the nitty gritty detail of that. Number 6, the big ideas and the big impact. So I am going to be launching a brand new podcast this year and a video series. And it's something I've been thinking about for a long time. And I can't wait to do that. Equally, I've written a trilogy of books and I'm looking to get an agent and I am putting that out. I also want to help people much more in your personal brand plan, which is my brand new program. I want to do some more telly this year. I want to go abroad this year, like all of these big ideas. So I invite you to do the same. What is that project that has been niggling you for a while? Your personal brand plan could be a great way of getting things started, really paying attention to what gives you that sparky feeling. Sorry, I'll stop clicking like I'm in West Side Story, but that's where it goes. It's like rubbing hands, sparks, bringing the energy. Number 7, being the person who. Yes, please. This has come thick and fast sometimes because I have got stuck in a rut sometimes. You know, when it's cold and dark and you're in survival mode, or maybe there's been stuff going on in your life and you've just been going through the motions. I did not sign up to be that person in my life. It's not the best version of myself. I want to be the person who does, who says who does what she says she's going to do, who has the habits, the patterns of behavior, the confidence, the sassiness, the say yes, the say no. And often we can think that only happens when somebody comes to us and gives us permission. You know, like the Disney films where the girl sits with her head out the window and then suddenly the prince comes and it's like, oh, yes, I now have permission to do this. No, it starts with you. You go first. Number 8, the business goals, the success pick and mix. In my podcast, the Success Pick and Mix podcast, I interviewed over 150 people, and everybody's version of success looks and feels different. So whether you're just thinking, but everybody is saying this, everybody thinks that I should do this, or now I'm this kind of age, maybe this is the thing that I should do. No, 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 no. Never has there been a better time where you fully embrace who you are, what you want, what's important to you, what your version of success is, and build a plan to make it happen. Number nine, life first. There are a million and one ways to make a million and one quid. However, not all of those ideas, and actually the majority of those ideas, are not going to be right for you. And so instead of making it all about the money and like what's going to be the right thing, what's going to be the industry that's going to give me that kind of money, start with you first. Start with your interests. Start with what you're drawn to. Start with your natural abilities and really get into that nitty gritty. Because then once you tune into that and work and lead from that place, that's when you can make some really lovely money. So, how do these resonate? Going first. When I tell you, or when I invite you or suggest to you that you have to go first, what does that do in your body? Does that immediately make you want to go, no, I don't want to go first? No, 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 no. No, thanks. I want you to explore it. And I'm sure that you will get that innate feeling of like, oh, yeah, I'm holding back in that area. Oh yeah, I should be driving that much more, and I'm waiting and I'm hoping and I'm wishing and I'm blaming somebody else and I'm talking about how the industry or it's not the right time or all of these external things. Once you decide now is your time and that you're going to go first and put yourself into that place and space of vulnerability, you'll begin to see some shifts and quite quick ones. Number two, being focused and accepting help and ease. I am somebody that prides myself, rightly or wrongly, that I can do loads of things. I'm a self-starter. The clicks are coming in again. I'm determined. I'm ready. I'm all of these things. And what can happen sometimes is my energy can become scattered. And what I've learned to do is to really focus it and really get into the nitty gritty of what it is that I am trying to build, what I'm trying to create, where I want to see progress. And then accepting the help so I can have the ease. So many of us grew up with that. I can do it. I can do it all. I don't need this. Maybe it was the ladette thing of the 90s of like, yeah, I'm a tough girl. I don't need help. And now we are in this age and stage. And if we are managing all the things, or if we've got kids or elderly parents, or with just that person in our community, in our WhatsApp group, we need to accept that we need the help in order to have that focus. And being all the things to all the people is really difficult to maintain and sustain. Number three, there'll always be a reason not to. And I don't know about you, but every day when I wake up, I feel like the news is telling us more bad news. There's always a reason not to. And our brain loves that comfort. It loves that safety and security. So if you say to your brain, can you just give me 15 reasons why I shouldn't do this right now? Your brain goes, no problem, let's go. So it's this and it's this and it's this and it's this and it's this. And you'll get to that stage where you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, it does feel dangerous. I am not going to make a move. And so instead of focusing on the reasons why you shouldn't, I want you to focus on the reasons why you should move forward right now, because there will be those reasons. And sometimes they will be under the rubble of all the reasons why not. So I want you to actively seek them out, peek and have a look and see what's going on. Number four, feelings are useful and must be explored. Once again, growing up, maybe as I did, maybe as you did, we had to put a smile on our face and just keep going in this slightly, it's okay, no problem, and just push those feelings down and just forget that they're there. But the thing is, your subconscious won't forget that they're there. And your subconscious will pop them up when you are least expecting it. And so I want you to notice those feelings and those things that keep popping up again and again and again. And I want you, instead of pushing them down, to explore them. These might be limiting beliefs. These may be old habits. These may be things that a teacher once said to you. You can't do this. You're not good at that. People like up, whatever it is. I'm not even going to give you ideas. I want you to explore them and I want you to pull them apart and I want you to see the ugliness in them and ask yourself, is this true? Is this true now, right now? I mentioned at the beginning, I am 43. I had a moment the other day where I felt a hesitation in my business and I pulled it apart and I asked myself, why am I pausing on this? And it was something that happened when I was 13. And I then did the maths and I was like, oh, that's nearly 31 years ago. Not only is it 31 years ago, but that was maybe not accurate of the time. It was something that somebody said. So what do I need to do? Actually, I need to pull it apart and chuck it out the window. Because my 14-year-old, no, 43-year-old, not 14-year-old, my 43-year-old knows better than that. She knows that that's not true. And I also had a dawning that my son is going to be 13 in 4 years' time. And if an adult told him what that person told me, told my son in 4 years' time, and he came to me and he was like, this person said this thing, I would be analyzing it and pulling it apart as well. So it wouldn't fester for the next 31 years. I want you to explore them, but I then want you to take action on them and put them somewhere and keep moving regardless. And this thing of fake it till you make it, you might have to do a little bit of that. But there is enough support to guide you and build that integrity and that confidence and that competence every step of the way. Next, you're never starting from scratch. When you make a move, when you grow, when you start a new chapter, once again, your brain will tell you, you know nothing. You're starting from scratch. Who are you to do this? It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. And maybe you shouldn't do it. A lot of that is nonsense because nothing up until this point has been wasted. You, where you are up to right now, has been an amalgamation of experience, skills, talents, meeting adversity, difficult times, all of it, every step of the way. And so you are coming to this brand new situation with all of that behind you, almost like they're all marching, like, come on, we can do this, like a Daft Punk video. We are behind you and we're backing you every step of the way. And we are propelling you forward. And so don't allow yourself to say, I'm a complete beginner and I know nothing. It's really a victim mentality and it's a way of keeping you small. You have so much to bring to the table. Connect. Connecting is my super strength. As I mentioned, it's in my acting, it's in my coaching, it's in my speaking, it's in my writing, it's how I build my network. I want to connect. I'm not interested in having my photo taken with somebody just for the sake of the Instagram situation. No thanks. I'm about proper connections. And so I want you to think about what your super strength is. What are the golden threads that run through everything that you are and everything that you do? What are they? Identify them and then maximize them and really lean into them. Tell stories and describe the process. I know how impressive it is when somebody comes, especially if we haven't seen it before. You know, when people were doing those behind the scenes of my Stripe account, here's how I made 7 figures. Here it is. Look, all the numbers here. It's impressive. The first time you see that and you go, wow, but she's like me. How has she done that? Great. It's inspirational. It's aspirational. It's exciting. And then once you've seen it a few times, it's just numbers. I want to know the how. I want to know the twists and the turns and what happened and what did you do next? And when you fell flat, what went on then? That's the interesting stuff. And that's what you can do as a leader. You can step into that expert status and don't gatekeep your information. Don't hold it back and say, well, they've got to learn it the hard way. Because if you are that person who's going to drop that nugget, who's going to make that connection or help somebody and go, do you know what you could do if you want to? That's only going to really propel things forward anyway. So you may as well. Finally, what would it feel like to actually knock your socks off? If you overhear conversations in the supermarket, on the school run, general things, are you ready for Christmas? How's things? Yeah, I'm all right, but I'm a bit tired. It's all a bit, that's the energy of it. I want you to take this time and this opportunity to use what you've got and what's available to you and sit with that proposition. When I say knock my own socks off, what does that mean to me? Where am I going next? What is the thing that I'm like, whoa, yeah, that, that's spicy, sassy, edgy, sexy, all of it. All of it. I want to talk about your personal brand plan now because I want to give you an opportunity to really get things in flow, in motion, and get things moving and shaking. Your personal brand plan is personal. I know, I had to have it in there because if I said, this is the brand plan that you need that is suitable for everybody, I would be lying because it's not. And your personal brand plan is only going to work for you if it's personal. So what I have and what I don't have for you. I don't have agendas. I don't have fixed ideas. I don't have one version of success that you have to squeeze yourself into. You know, the fashions where people go, these are on trend. And there have been times where there have been things that have come back around. Low-waisted jeans, for example, beige crop tops. That did not work for me the first time. I will not be doing it age 43. So instead of feeling like you have to follow trends of what everybody else is doing, I want you to tune in this program with me together to really think about what you want to be, do, have, and feel, and start there. Build on that. I want you to work with what's happening, not against it, your capacity. So I think sometimes there is this feeling, this myth, this story that there's going to be this perfect time where you have all of this space and knowledge and you've got great hair and everything is fantastic. And for most of us, there is not going to be that space. And even if we had 2 weeks off with nothing to do, most of us would have to find something to do, or we wouldn't have that blank space of time. And so I want you to find a way where you can make progress with what you have. And I had this conversation with a coach once who was talking about being serious, going all in, making a decision and cutting off all other alternatives. And what this coach didn't pay attention to was my schedule, my capacity. So, yes, I wanted to do all of these things, but as you can see here, I had a baby that was awake and awake a lot. He wasn't even crying, he was just awake. He wanted to play, he wanted to chat and have a nice time. And so, wherever you are up to, your personal brand is about meeting you there. I'm not going to encourage you to do 18-hour days. I don't encourage that for myself. If anything, after about 9 o'clock, my partner will tell you of nearly 20 years, I don't have a lot of great stuff to say unless I've had a lot of wine and then I have all the things to say. But whether or not he wants to listen to them or not is another matter. But anyway, I want to work with what you have and build from there. This thing about perfect timing and going all in is only available to a small amount of people. And we know what happens when only a small amount of people have the power, the section of the pie, the money, etc. I want to support to embrace all parts of you. So maybe you have been somebody that for many years you're like, oh gosh, this feels really icky, or like I never feel like I quite fit in and I need to tailor this, but I don't know how. we start with you. It's essentially that blank piece of paper and pulling all the parts that you want to include in there. It's a really lovely process. And every step of the way, when I do this with clients, they're like, oh, this just feels really great. And when things start to feel great, it means that you're not going to allow any of the other stuff that feels average in there. So, for example, when you sort out your wardrobe, I know that when I've pulled everything out, I've cleaned it, I've decluttered, I am really careful about what I put back in there. And I'm only putting the good stuff in there. When we begin this next chapter, that's what it's about for me and for you. This framework is there to guide you, to give you questions, but it isn't a step-by-step formula. It's not going to restrict you. It's not going to make you choose this or this. I have no agenda, as I've mentioned. But if you are left with your own devices of like, okay, I now have to build a personal brand, where do I start? That can be overwhelming. So I'm going to signpost it every step of the way. I want you to feel impossibility and do things on your terms. And you bring the ideas, but I can help you to make a plan that is real, not random. It's quite amazing how often we can feel like life is over. And every step of the way, especially when I had kids, I had my son when I was 33. Like, enjoy your pregnancy, because as soon as that baby comes, your life's not going to be your own. As soon as he starts crawling, your life's not going to be your own. As soon. And then you get into your 40s and people are like, whoa, now you've got a bit of sleep back, but perimenopause is coming, and then menopause, and then all of it, all of it. I don't work in that way. Like, we know that life is going to throw some things at us, but why don't we see if we can also find the joy and the possibility and like the fun times within that? Last year, I did this experiment for myself. So the principles of your personal brand plan have been with me for the last 25 years, and I've pulled all of these pieces together. But last year, I set myself a challenge of doing something for 100 days. And that was to run every day for 15 minutes. But I actually ended up doing it for 250 days because I wanted to go all in. Like, if I'm asking you to do something for 100 days, I want to put my money where my mouth is. I want to test it. I want to go on that journey myself. Here are a few things that I discovered. Number one, I learned so much about myself. You think that 15 minutes is just 15 minutes. So it's like, what's the big deal? Every day I got to know myself. I sat with myself. I worked things out, and I really learned what I was all about. Number two, little and often and not waiting. My ego wanted to train for a marathon. My ego wanted to start my medal collection of all of the big things that I had done. I wasn't in that position. I didn't have that capacity at that time. So instead of waiting to impress my ego, I went with little and often and not waiting. This is the beauty of this 100-day program. We go little and often. Sometimes you've got 5 minutes to do a voice note. Sometimes you've got half an hour to work on your business. Whatever you have, it's this little and often moving in the right direction. Number three, understanding the resistance. You will get to know yourself so well, your habits, your limiting beliefs, those old stories that come up again and again where you're like, oh, it's the same thing in a different outfit. And working through and with that resistance, because it's always going to be there, is one of the best things that you can do in terms of changing that resistance into resilience, which I know sounds a very life coachy, cringy phrase, but it's just left my body, and it makes sense, but it feels a bit icky. Anyway, number four, you'll always get something, and often the thing that you didn't think you needed. Your mind, on my mind, the amount of times on this 250-day process, you don't need to go today, you're tired, you need to rest today. Those days where my mind thought I needed to rest, I actually didn't. My soul needed to move some stuff about and come up with some ideas. An idea that was just about to come to the surface needed to come out. Number five, I want you to find a way so you refine the process to suit you so you get results. So often people start January like, yes, I'm going to do this for January. Here we go. And they go all in. And then they're so tired in February because they've used all of their resources. It's really difficult to be in that flow of it being sustainable. I know that I am not an exercise in the evenings type of person. And so as soon as I figured out, oh, right, I've just got to run at the same time every day. And that is about 20 to 8 to about 5 to 8. And then it's done. It fits in with the school run where my kids are at with breakfast and all the rest of it. I can get in the shower. I can get ready. I refine the process to suit you. So maybe you are at that point where it's like, yeah, I really want to make progress, but I need to take the guessing game out of this because there's so much like thought and headspace that is required. Let's refine this process so you find a new rhythm. Number six, you will find that muscle memory over that 100 days. That muscle memory that is going to serve you so well. When sometimes I would have that thing of like, I don't feel like I've got much in my legs today. That muscle memory where you can just go, no worries, I've got this. I can do this. It's the same with your business. It's the same with your goals. Doing it, showing up regularly is where you're going to build that. My son had this chat with me the other day about going to football training. And he came home and he was like, oh, tonight it just wasn't great. And I said, oh, tell me more about it. He said, I just didn't feel like I played well. I felt really cold. I didn't have much energy tonight. And I said, but you showed up. And you showing up will have that compound effect. It will build that muscle for you. So don't assume that that it's going to be wasted. It really isn't. Number seven, you don't need a complete 360 change. You know those moments where people talk like, I had to go to the jungle and have a ayahuasca journey and leave my children and leave my husband and do this for me and cut off from the outside world. Some people need to do that. Some people need to do that with alcohol. Alcohol's not going to work for them. They're like, I need to go to AA and it doesn't need to be in my life. Great. They are the extreme versions, but most of us need a few tweaks. Over 100 days, we're going to be refining and defining and reflecting and tweaking and adjusting and experimenting, almost like a yoga pose, like pull your left leg in. Okay, where are you up to today? And it's really going to work for you. And number eight, showing you are somebody who actually does it. So many people want to talk about it. Yeah, I'm doing this thing. Yeah. I've got this idea. What about doing it? What about being the person who goes, yeah, oh, yeah, I'm doing it? That's when you will find out about what you're made of, what you're all about, where your strengths, where your weaknesses are, what you need, what your love languages are, all of it. And maybe now is your time where you're like, I've been talking about this for a really long time, and now it's time to do something. So your personal brand plan is focusing on 5 key areas. Number one, the planning stage, really looking at this life first business model. What do you want? What do you need? What's important to you? What floats your boat? What do you absolutely hate? What environments do you thrive in? What you can't think of anything worse? All of it. Really going into the details. Pricing and planning, packaging rather, how you're going to make money. It's really important. I'm the biggest dreamer there is, but I also need to make money. And this is an important transaction that needs to happen. And when people say, oh, is it rude to be selling at this time? No, it isn't, because we've still got business, people needing things. I've still got direct debits that go out every single month, regardless. It's time for you to sell and get paid the kind of money that you want to have in the way that you want to have it. Number three, your online presence, what you're all about, setting your stall out, working smarter, not just hard all the time. It's a great way. We can utilize websites, social media, content. I do not want to sit on sales calls all day long. I want people to get to know me and then say, I'm ready to find out more. Not the other way round, where they say, I'm not ready, but I just need you to help me. I want you to know what you need so we can take things further. Number four, presenting, visibility, speaking up, sharing your message, building your audience, being an expert, doing all of that online, maybe scary stuff. How often have you heard people say they absolutely hate public speaking? I want you to find a consistency with it, a way of working with it so it feels really great. Number 5, personal. Your habits, your patterns of behavior, your mindset, your identity, how you feel about yourself, your confidence, your rhythms, really leaning into a great way that you work, acknowledging your needs, all of it. Because you can't do all of these other things and ignore this final part. And this is why it's a cyclical process. You will be able to go back around and around and again and tweak this wherever you go. So there's a little bit more detail here. I'm not going to read it out. You can just pause this where I'm going to go into a few more questions about the planning. So you can stop the video here and begin to answer these questions. Secondly, when I talk about pricing and packaging, what comes to mind? Remember, around here, we talk about the ideal version. So in an ideal way, how would you work? How would you make money? How much time would you have off? When would you work? What kind of people do you want to work with? Do you want a big team, a small team? I want you to go into the details. Positioning. I've mentioned this, being born in 1981, I'm still blown away by the fact that we have the internet. But now I'm less in awe of it. I'm like, okay, great. Let's just make it work for me. I talk about your digital disco because I want to really help you optimize your energy. So you're not repeating yourself. You're not doing all of the things all of the time. And also we have a great opportunity in this day and age that we can have a 24/7 business without us working 24/7. And how often are people on their phones in the middle of the night, on the school run, in the bus queue, in the car park, waiting for their kid to come out of dancing, whatever it might be? So if you set your stall out, people can come and get to know you and really be in that conversation without you having to be there. The speaking one is a big one, but unless you know how to share your message, it doesn't matter if you planned a great business or you've got a great product or you put together a lovely website. You've got to get some bums on seats, some eyes on what it is that you do. So I talk a lot about really thinking about how you create that connection with people, how you find those people, how you articulate your message, how you become that sort of have that familiarity, almost like a soap opera. It's a really great one to explore. And finally, the personal aspect. You can pause this once again and read through it. Let me make sure you can read it all. There we go. I talk about mega moves a lot because I know that you're maybe at a stage where you just don't want to do a little, dabble in, out, shake it all about. Maybe you are ready for more. In summary, and you can read more about your personal brand plan. And if you've watched this and you think, hang on a minute, there's something in this for me, you can just send me a message and we can set up a chat and speak further about it. There are 2 options here. There's a side-by-side, one-to-one version. You and I working together for 100 days. I only work with a select few people in this way because it's intense, but in a good way, not in a creepy way. In a great, let's do this. I want to be available for you whenever you need me. Some people want to do that side-by-side thing. And equally, some people want to do this plan with whatever else is going on. So incorporate it alongside, I remember sitting in my bed and my son went through this stage where he wouldn't sleep in his cot in the day. But I was like, I need to work during that lunchtime nap. So instead of going around in the buggy, I just found like, if I put him in the bed next to me, then he'll sleep. And then I'll just work on my laptop. And that really worked for me. So whatever stage you are at in life, and maybe working one-to-one is not in your thoughts at the moment, you can access this whenever you need it and make it work for you. It's personal because it is. I've touched on this slightly, But this is a place and a space where you can really think about what it is that you want. You don't have to follow anybody else's thing. You don't have to get distracted. This is simply for you to be in that flow. Flexible and fulfilling. I've spoken about it being the cyclical action where you can keep going back around. As I've mentioned, for the last 25 years, my personal brand, my personal life, my business, everything has had many twists and turns. But fundamentally, it's the same principles, it's the same kind of questions, because then you can tweak it accordingly, because you're not going to answer it the same way every single time. And you can find a way that's going to be flexible and fulfilling, feel really good at that time. Finally, profitable. Hooray. Let's talk about money, shall we? Yes, let's do that. And purposeful. They are a power couple. Profitability and purpose. They want to work hand in hand. I know you just don't want to make loads of money, so you can keep it all to yourself. I bet you're that person who are like, do you know what? I'd love to take my family away. I'd love to be able to mentor somebody for free. I'd love to start a charity. I'd love to, whatever it might be. Your personal brand plan is personal, but I also know you need to make money, because you can't do anything unless you're filling your own cup and that money coming in. Forget about all of the other stuff. This is for all kinds of people, and I'm not going to read them out. You can read them for yourself and pause it there. And I was that person who was annoying for lots of coaches, because they were just like, but what is your niche? And I found it really difficult to define, because the people that were coming to me were from all different sectors, all different stages of business. But ultimately, what they wanted to do was to build a life first business model, and they wanted it bespoke to them. So some of these people were just starting out, they just qualified. Some people wanted to leave their corporate and transition. Some people had been in business for a while and they had that urge to burn everything down essentially and start again. Or some people have had that thing where they're just reaching where they think is possible and they go, there's something more. So each plan is always bespoke to the client. I don't believe in one size fits all. So that's why we start with your life first. Embracing and understanding what is important to you and your uniqueness, and being able to join the game exactly as you are, exactly where you are right now. And this thing, once again, about perfect timing or now I'm ready, I have had to really use the time and the resources and the energy that I have had over the last 25 years and find a way, those pockets of doing it anyway. And it will take some organization. It will take you saying yes, saying no, some logistics. But if you want it, there will be a way, I promise. And to be able to work smarter, not harder, and effectively, it's going to be so great. Now, you may want to do your personal brand plan, or if there is a particular area that I've spoken about today in today's presentation, you can go to these individual places. And I'm going to link all the links down below. So maybe you just need help with goal setting, strategy, a plan. Maybe it's the money stuff. Maybe it's the website stuff. Maybe it's the speaking. I don't want to sell and say your personal brand plan is going to be right for you if you just want one particular area. So if you want to find out more, you can do these as online courses, and you can also add on one-to-one support if you like. There are also shorter options. I always love to have this as an option in terms of strategy sessions. Ask me anything. Some people work with me for a month. You can explore all of those shorter options there. And equally, if you want to see the full range of my shop, you can just go to my shop. The links are fairly self-explanatory. I want to help you to find these two states. And if what I've said to you today resonates, let's have a chat. I want to help you to get to this sparkly, jazzy, let's go energy, but also find this softness. I don't know what I'm dancing to here, but I think it's just the music in my own head. I want you to find that ease and flow with the business. So, really expanding and going for your big, bold, audacious dreams, but also doing it with that grace, that intuition, that excitement, that inner knowing, that heart led, all of that great stuff. Thank you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If you want to find out more, go over to my email, send me a message, say that you've seen this, share with me your notes. I would love to know more about what landed, what resonated with you, and then I can help you. Then I can point you in the right direction. Equally, if you know somebody who's like, oh, they've been talking about this in the pub, send them this video and they can watch this so you don't have to explain the whole thing. I would love you to take action today. And even if you're just not sure of what you might need, let's have a chat, because speaking it out loud will allow your head to feel less busy, and we'll find that clarity, we'll find all that good stuff. Also, if you are inspired to make something similar today, send me a link to whatever you create and I can share it, I can watch it, and I will know more about you as well. Sending you lots of love, and I'll speak to you very, very soon. Bye.